Okay, here we go again. Today we are working we're into our reading and our lesson. Our focus for today's lesson is visualizing. We are starting a new story today, and in order to start a new story, we always have vocabulary words. Look at the picture.
What if you already read it? Oh my.
Luke, just be quiet, please. Thank you. Okay, look at the picture. Look at the word. It says it is absurd. Just by looking at the picture, are you getting an idea of what absurd means? Okay, so when we go to our next slide, it says absurd is an adjective. That means it is something that is describing. And it says if something is absurd, you think it is silly or ridiculous. Is this silly or ridiculous?
Yes.
Okay, make sure your books are put away. Yes, it is silly or ridiculous. Our sentence is,
It's 3 dogs.
my dogs looked absurd dressed in clothes and glasses. I agree. Okay, this is what some people do. In most of the time, this is what brothers and sisters do to each other. Who knows how to pronounce that word? Okay, what is it? Reese. Taunt. How many of you have a brother or a sister that taunts you? How many of you aren't certain of it because you don't know what it means? Can you tell by it? Look at his face. Look at that face. You can see that he is taunting his opponent. Quiet, sir. This is a noun. So a taunt is something someone says to anger or upset someone else. Remember, I said that this is what brothers and sisters do to each other by raising your hand, but no comments. How many of you have a brother or sister who taunts you? How many of you taunt a brother or sister? Oh, look at all the hands in the air. Funny. Okay, here's our sentence. During the competition, opponents may yell or taunt at each other. How many of you watch football games? Do you see that happen? Okay. Moving on. Oh, goodness. What does that word say? Who thinks they can read it? Tucker. Forfeit. Now look how forfeit is spelled. That's a weird combination, vowel combination. When we think about what it sounds like. Yeah, it's forfeit. Hello. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, so we're seeing what forfeit is. How many of you have a good idea? Okay, look at their faces. You can see how they feel. They feel kind of sad. Forfeit is a verb. It's something you do. If you forfeit something, you lose it because you have broken a rule.
Or you just give it up.
Yeah, you gave it up. You can see that they must have lost. Something happened. Here it says we had to forfeit the game because we did not have enough players. They must have problems with COVID by them too. Okay, so we had to forfeit the game because we did not have enough players. Ooh, when your brothers and sisters are taunting you, you might despise them. Okay, does this person look real happy right now? Look at the eyes.
Yes.
That person does not. They're giving you the look of death. What is that person having to do? Yes, they're shoveling the snow.
That looks fun.
Well, not everybody thinks that's fun. So, no, look at verb. This is also a verb. It is something you do. A verb is something you do. Thank you, Tucker. If you despised something, you felt a strong dislike for it. So there are some things we all despise. For some of you, it's homework. For some of you, it's different subjects. For some of it is jobs you have at home. It says here, Michael despised cold weather and shoveling snow. I know lots of people who really do not like cold weather. Ooh, look at this one.
That is camouflage.
It is good camouflage. How do we? Ferocious. Now look at the ending of this word. Okay, numbers go away. Okay, we'll do it this way. See, look at this. The C-I-O-U-S. That's hard to spell.
Sis.
because it looks, but it's ferocious. It sounds like S-H-U-S, ferocious. So it's a hard word to spell. But think about that, precious, delicious, all of that is spelled like that. Ferocious is an adjective. It's a describing word. Something that is ferocious is very fierce, mean, and violent. Can you see that? It's fierce and mean. Okay. Looks mad. The ferocious animal bared his teeth from the top of the rock. He's got his teeth bared. Look at. So if you don't understand that, baring your teeth, that means you're showing your teeth.
So it could be your smile.
Okay. Next one. Oh, goodness. Elaborately. Look at the detail on this. A lot of detail. This is an adverb. In other words, it describes a verb because it has an ly on the end. If something is elaborately dressed or decorated, it has many complex artistic details. The palace was elaborately built and decorated with gold. Is it elaborately built? A lot of details?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, did it say built with gold?
Yes.
Yep.
Gold is not very fun.
Okay, and our last one. Oh, look at the little puppy. Aww. Okay, here's the word coveted. Coveted. Have any of you heard of that word before? Okay, coveted. It is a verb. It's something you do. Actually, it's something you shouldn't do. If you coveted something, you wanted it very much. That can cause problems. That's where stealing comes from. Miguel had coveted a pet for so long, and now he has one.
Yay.
Okay, and that's the end of our vocabulary words. Okay, so we're talking about visualizing. Visualizing is our focus for the next few days. And as you get a book, which the rest of you will have to get your books tomorrow, and one group gets them today, you're going to work with this. You see, it says visualize, looking in the middle here. Use your senses to create pictures in your mind as you read. Or please put the markers down. Please stop looking through your books. Please stop coloring on your papers. What some of you may have heard this as is making a movie in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're visualizing, you're making a movie in your mind. You're imagining. And there's different ways you can imagine. And look at this, we're using our 5 senses. What do I see? What would I smell? What would I hear? What would I taste? And what would I feel? So think about, now look at how they are using the senses to help you remember this. Thinking about anything. Okay, and now please open to page 142 in my book. We're reading The Game of Silence. Some of you don't know what it means to be silent. And for some of you, if you've already read the story, please be quiet. We've already heard that you've read the story. So I want you to think about the title, The Game of Silence. Look at the picture on page 143. So on page 142, we're hearing about the story. We're going to get prepared to read. On page 143, it's showing you a picture. Notice that right away, it's telling us about a genre study. Right here, G-E-N-R-E. I pronounce that as genre. It's meaning a specific type of book. And this time we are studying historical fiction. Everybody out there, all of your reading groups, will be receiving a historical fiction book to read. I have a lot of historical fiction books about World War II. Some of you will be reading about them. Others will be reading about other books. So here we have the historical fiction. It is a story that is set in a real time and place in the past. Okay, so it continues to say, historical fiction includes characters who act, think, and speak like real people. Those of you at the front table, please be quiet. They act, think, and speak like real people from the past would. I mean, they act just like people from long ago. Authors of historical fiction tell a story through the plot. So here's that word plot. Remember, I was talking about that. This is also in your book, besides being up on our screen. And so a plot is the main events of a story. Later this week, we'll be focusing on plot. Authors of historical fiction may use figurative language to develop the setting and the characters. We've talked about figurative language. Specifically, we've been working with idioms and similes. Idioms are extreme exaggerations, and similes are when you're comparing something that's something's like something else. Ethan, are you paying attention? Please put the pink thing down. Put the pencil down. Now we're going to set a purpose. Look at the pictures on the next page. Think about what it reveals about the characters. What do you want to learn from these characters, and write your ideas. Okay, for those of you who I told to put your pencils down, now you got to pick them up again. So on your page 142, there is a green box. On the screen, my box is quite small. Right here, it's showing where I would write something. Right now, you are writing down what do you want to know about the people in the picture from page 143. I'm giving you 2 minutes to do that. After you have looked at the picture in 143 and thought about things, look at the pictures all the way through 149. Look at the pictures all the way through 149. Do you have other questions? Okay, looking at that first picture, what do you think the relationship is between the children featured in the illustrations? Are they in other pictures? Does it look like they get along? Okay. You should have written something down. Tomorrow we're going to revisit that part. Okay, we're going to get through only the first couple of pages, and then we need to get into our reading groups. So as we turn to page 144, that's 143, so that should be 144. I want you to think about the text. I'm going to have the narrator read the text, and I want you to think about the language that helps you visualize what the neighboring tribe might look like during that time period. So we're going to be talking about some Native American tribes. Isn't that funny how all this stuff is working together? This morning we were talking about the, oh goodness, how do we pronounce that? The Wampanoag. And so now we're talking about another one. I wonder how this word is pronounced. I know this one is Ojibwe, but I don't know how that one's pronounced. But we're going to find out. So here we go.
Omakayas is an Ojibwe girl who lives with her family on Lake Superior. It is 1850, and members of a neighboring tribe have just recently arrived after being forced from their land. They have traveled a long way, and they are tired, hungry, and raggedy. Omakayas and her brother are at home with their grandmother, Nokomis. They begin to play a silent game while they wait for others to arrive so the adults can discuss what is happening to their people.
Okay, I paused the video. Notice that what has been read is in this box. In other words, they are giving you the backstory so you understand what's going on.
Words, words, words. Pressing up from her stomach, trembling on her lips. Words buzzing in her throat like caught bees, banging in her head. Harsh words, angry words, sounds boiling up in her like sap. Wild things she couldn't let out. Yow! A kick from her brother almost caused Omakayas to blurt an exclamation. No. Omakayas sealed her lips together in a firm line and glared at her brother with all of the force pent up inside. If the fire from her eyes could scorch him, Pinch would be the first to yell out. Then he would lose the game of silence. But Pinch was used to receiving furious looks from his family. He knew just how to respond. First, he looked innocently at Omakayas, as though he was ever innocent. He pretended he was unaware of the raging energy stuffed up inside of his sister. Then, as Omakayas bored her eyes at him with increasing intensity, he lolled out his tongue and twisted his face into a deranged and awful mask. His features shifted into one ugly and absurd face after the next, until suddenly Omakayas just about, almost, laughed. Just in time, she clapped her hand to her mouth, closed her eyes, concentrated. Yes, Aya, she would be a stone. Asenig, a pile of stones, each one harder and quieter than the next. She would be silent and more silent yet. And in spite of her annoying brother, she would win. She kept her eyes closed, put her forehead on her knees, thought, stone, 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 Asin, Asin. Filled her mind with the sound of falling rain, which was easy. Outside, it was not just raining, but pouring down, a drenching, cold, miserable, early summer shower. 1. Aya. Yes. 2. Asenig, a pile of stones. 3. Asen, stone. Absurd. If something is absurd, you think it is silly or ridiculous.
Okay. It took me a little bit to figure out where my bars were, but I figured it out. I want you to look at the words that I'm circling right now. They're on the bottom of your page. And you see the pronunciation keys. So that is another way to help you pronounce those words. Remember how I said this morning when we were looking at our scholastic news? Those words that we don't know how to pronounce, sometimes the author will include. Okay, so for those of you at home, this is all the more time that we are taking in this story. We are meeting in reading groups, which means that you at home need to read quietly to yourself for the next 20 minutes.
Yes.
So, okay, we have work to do. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye!